Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In honor of Spider-Man Far From Home, I thought I would go over all the Spider-Man films. Spider-Man was released in 2002, and it was the highest grossing film that year. This film was a big deal. I was a huge fan of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon on Fox Kids. I played the video games by Neversoft. Spider-Man was one of my favorite superheroes, and I was so excited to finally see him in live action. We've had previous incarnations of Spider-Man through animation and live action. Some of the live action ones were not up to scale and just were horrible compared to what we have now. The character and superheroes have come a long way in film. And I remember seeing the trailer to this with my brother on Final Fantasy The Spirits Within. It was actually the trailer that involved the World Trade Centers. You see this bank robbery, I'm like, what is going on? And then they're trapped in a web, and I'm like, is this like James and the Giant Peach or something? What is this? It slowly zooms out and shows us the World Trade Centers. Such a powerful teaser. And this film came out after 9/11, and it was a tragic time in America's history. And this is a film that brought people together. I think people forget how patriotic this film was. This was a truly special film, not only with the character of Peter Parker, but with these characters being set in New York City and the symbol of a hero that Spider-Man represented, all the way to that ending with the American flag. Spider-Man was a fantastic film and almost had earlier adaptations. James Cameron at one point was going to make a Spider-Man film, and it went through numerous developments. We've had Blade, Men in Black, and X-Men, and this and X-Men really ushered in the new wave of superhero films we had in the 2000s onto our current MCU. Tobey Maguire was cast as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker. We've had Sam Raimi direct the film. He was most famous for doing Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell has a cameo here. We also have Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, and then we have Rosemary Harris as Aunt May with Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben, James Franco as Harry Osborn, and William Dafoe as Norman Osborn, and the villain, Green Goblin. And they took some embellishments from the comics. It wasn't 100% accurate. We had Spider-Man shoot organic webbing instead of his web cartridges, his web shooters. This is the first Marvel film to have the comics opening. And it's an origin story, and one of the best origin tales. And unlike Batman, this is a film where the hero makes the villain. You know, this isn't like Jack Nicholson making Batman. No, Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker makes this movie. And I still think he's the best Spider-Man. I know I might get a lot of flack from people, but I don't care. You listen to his voice, he perfectly personifies Peter Parker. And I love him in the role of Spider-Man. I think he's the best Spider-Man we have to this day. Despite the changes, though, I really love seeing Peter Parker as this kind of like out of place, isolated teenager. He's like every one of us, you know, or at least people who weren't like, I guess people who are nerds, you know, very much I found Peter Parker to be relatable. You know, always kind of having life knocked down on you. Not being like the athletic jock, having a crush on somebody, but kind of being out of their league, you know. So I could very much relate to Peter Parker in that way before he's bitten by the radioactive spider. And I love that because this has a theme of with great power comes great responsibility. Cliff Robertson does an amazing job as Uncle Ben. He's supposed to be in his late 60s, but he was really in his mid 70s when he did this role. This is a well done film. It starts with the origin. We have narration. It shows him get bitten, but then it shows him trying to win Mary Jane's heart, get a car like Flash Thompson. And that scene there in the lunch cafeteria was well done. I love the use of spider sense here with slow motion. It was different than the comics and cartoon. And that scene where he catches a lunch tray was not CGI. It actually took them 156 takes to get that right. That's crazy, I know. They also did the kiss scene for real, and you could tell his neck was red. He had to be upside down for numerous takes to do that one scene. But I love it because they have CGI here, but they still use practical effects. Sam Raimi really balances that very well. And some movies today could take a few pointers from this film. But I love the wrestling match, such a classic scene, but it's so tragic with Uncle Ben and Peter Parker. His last conversation with him was an argument, all the way down to him getting shot. It was just one of the most saddest deaths and it propelled him to being Spider-Man. And pretty much this film deals with him going after the Green Goblin, him becoming a photographer at the Daily Bugle. We get a reference to Eddie Brock. J.K. Simmons is the perfect J. Jonah Jameson. And William Dafoe goes nuts on this film. I love it where he's like, "Can Spider-Man come out and play?" I had the video game adaptation of this on the PS2. A wonderful game. It has some of the toys. This has a special place in my heart. And not only was it fun, but it showed you what a serious attempt at making a superhero film could look like. We've had Batman '89, we have several films in the mid-90s, but X-Men and Spider-Man really ushered in this modern wave of superhero films. This is one that embraces comic book roots while still being grounded enough in the real world. And that's what I love. It brought the best of Marvel Comics of having these relatable characters. They're not in a fictional city, they're in New York City. And bringing them to a grounded story. I just love that. The soundtrack is great. I love Danny Elfman's score. Such an iconic score. You have a Hero by Chad Kroeger. I love Hero. Spider-Man is a fantastic film, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5 and an A. This film is probably one of the best Spider-Man films. It is a bit dated compared to the later ones, but it kept it simple enough to where it wasn't too overly convoluted. And I just love all the performances. I love the friendship James Franco and Tobey Maguire have as Harry Osborn and Peter Parker. And it sets up their rivalry that's going to continue in Spider-Man 2 and 3, as well as a relationship with Mary Jane. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. He doesn't want to put the people he loves in harm's way. So he has to make an ultimate sacrifice and choice at the end. And who could forget the swinging scenes? I love how they did Spider-Man's suit here. They created a camera system called the Spider Camera that brought us those point of view sequences that were very, very well done. And again, with the patriotism, I love the ending with the flag, and I also love it when Green Goblin's going after Spider-Man and Mary Jane with the kids. They start throwing trash at him. It's like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. We're going to attack a guy trying to save a couple of kids. I just love that. Such a funny moment, and there are nods to the comics. You know, I love that part with the decision with the bridge. It's totally like Gwen Stacy. And there are moments that are intense that really make you feel for Peter Parker. You feel dread from the Green Goblin. He is a cartoonish, outlandish villain, but you know what? William Dafoe just relishes this role. And yeah, this was the start of something beautiful, and this has a special place in my heart. Despite the improvements later films made, this still is a solid superhero film and better than most superhero films now, in my opinion. Anyway, feel free to follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic, and you can check out my later Spider-Man videos, but in the meantime, enjoy these videos on my channel. Till next time, you can enjoy my review of Spider-Man 2.